Hi, good evening. This is Tracy King, the Bulletin Board Lady, and tonight is Workstation Wednesday, and I am here to talk about some of my favorite Star Spangled Banner workstations. While everyone is coming in, I want to tell you a little bit about where you can find me on social media. I blog at mrskingrocks.blogspot.com. On Twitter, you can find me as at Tracy King, and on Instagram, I'm the Bulletin Board Lady. And on Facebook, well, you found me if you're here. At least I hope you find me. I'm always petrified I'm posting and going live to the wrong account because I do that all the time. And I have sell resources on Teachers Pay Teachers at the Bulletin Board Lady / Tracy King. And then you can find me on my own personal website at thebulletinboardlady.com. And that's where I post the list of resources that I talk about on Workstation Wednesday. If you look at the link that's up in the video description, you'll be able to see that all the links from the past weeks and all the links that I'm going to talk about tonight are going to be there. And I hope that after you learn a little bit more about my Star Spangled Banner workstations, that you will want to click through and read some more about them and maybe check out some of the things that you can do with your own students. I hope that you will, in the comments, that you will let me know how you teach the Star Spangled Banner. I'm always curious about this. Do you teach it to your youngest students? Do you have a grade level that you really go in depth in and talk about the Star Spangled Banner and its history and the vocabulary and all of that involved? So let me know in the comments what you do with the Star Spangled Banner, if anything. And if you don't teach that at your school, I'm pretty interested to hear that too. So let me tell you what I do with mine. When I taught kindergarten through 8th grade, every student experienced it. It was one of our songs of the week, and so everyone got to experience that in some way or another. And with songs of the week and teaching kindergarten through 8th grade, everyone's experience was just a little bit different. With kindergarten through 2nd grade, it was important that they recognize the song and that they knew that you showed the same respect during the song as you did when you said the pledge to the flag. And so we would practice that, right hand on your heart and eyes on the flag, and make sure you're standing up and that you're respectful, that it wasn't a time to get jiggy with it. And we really didn't go much more into it than that. In 3rd grade, however, we kind of did kind of a deeper unit, a little bit, something with a little bit more meat. And we talked about the story and what was going on at the time that Francis Scott Key wrote it. We talked a little bit about who he was. And then, of course, we dove into the song and talked about some of the vocabulary and stuff. And it seemed that I was kind of losing a few kids in 3rd grade, that they, it was a lot to learn all about the song and then leave with it, hopefully mostly memorized. That was like one of the goals. So I really wanted to kind of push that to a different grade level. Well, when I moved to my current school, it was required that all 4th graders memorize the Star Spangled Banner. I wasn't really sure what I felt about that. Okay, that's a lie. I had a lot of feelings about that. First of all, the song isn't exactly made for 4th grade vocal range, but they could either write down the Star Spangled Banner, or they could speak it, or they could sing it. And so I had a lot of students that couldn't meet any of those goals. Not because we weren't working on it and because we weren't working on this memory and, just drill, but it just wasn't something that they were able to do. And so this became kind of, a really sad, frustrating unit for them. Well, once that went away, that the requirement of having to have it memorized, it was a little bit easier to teach, because I was really teaching about the whole thing, and we were singing the song. We sing it pretty regularly throughout the school year anyway. And so that's where I am now. I'm using the workstations that I'm going to show you tonight with fourth grade, but I have used them successfully with third grade. And before I started doing Star Spangled Banner in third grade, I used it with fifth and sixth grade. So I would say this kind of covers those middle grades as far as workstations go. And I think that it could be modified for older kids. And of course, it could be modified in some ways for the younger grades, but it does have a bit of reading to it. So I would say probably about third grade and up is where I would be. So I keep my Star Spangled Banner units in sticky notes in a magazine box because I can put all 10 of them in this box and it doesn't take up any more space. And hey, Matt, am I on the right channel now? Let me know. And then I keep all of the master copies of the Star Spangled Banner workstation. I keep them in the folder and I just pop it in the magazine box. And in there, I just have copies of the worksheets that I need to make. I also keep track of my students' progress because there are 10 workstations and they take 8 to 10 minutes at least every time. So I keep track. Don't worry, these aren't real student names. I just made some of them up. And so I track using different colors on what days they've completed which workstation. So that lets me know. And if they're absent, then I have an absent kid on here. If they're absent, then I just mark that down during that rotation that, they missed these 2 stations. They don't always get to go back and make that up. Some years that works out and some years it doesn't, to have that extra time in there. I also sketch out where my stations are going to be in my classroom so that I know I'll keep the folders in that order. And then to set up Star Spangled Banner workstations, it's just like boom, 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 boom. And then I'm ready to go in just a couple of minutes. So in sketching that out also helps if I have to be out a day during the middle of workstations, then it's really, really easy for my sub to do Star Spangled Banner workstations in my place. So let's jump right in. And I haven't heard back from Matt, so I'm going to assume I'm on the Bulletin Board Lady channel now, and I'm not on the wrong one, which I seem to do all the time. The first station is called Stickin Up Singing. And inside of this, and all of this is in the Star Spangled Banner workstation download. So you'll get the instructions for putting the folders together. The folders, each of the stations comes with directions. And then tells you how to put this all together in a folder. But I'm going to give you like the Cliff Notes version, and I'm going to rush you through it tonight. So at this station, there are copies of the lyrics to the Star Spangled Banner, and they're kind of spread out across the page. And what students do here is they come and as a group, usually probably about 3-ish kids or so in the group, they come and they would sing all the way through, "Oh, say can you see?" and they go all the way through. Then they each get to place a sticky note on someone else's lyrics. And when they do that, then the words are hidden and they have to try to sing all the way through it without peeking at the words underneath. And if they're able to do that, then they can use another sticky note and put it somewhere else and try it again. And then the idea is that they just keep sticky noting and singing until they covered everything, and then they can start over until it's time to move again. Kids really like this station, and they really like the challenge of just a few words being covered at a time. That really helps them feel successful. At the next station, we've been, usually in 4th grade, we've been working off and on all year on the names of pitches in the Treble Clef staff. And so this activity is just that. In the folder of the Star Spangled Treble Clef, there are the directions. I know this is backwards. I'm so sorry. And then there's a little cheat sheet. Now, most of my 4th graders don't need the cheat sheet by this time in the year, but there are some special learners that just can do it faster if they have this in front of them. And this is not the only time that I'm assessing this skill, so I don't feel bad about putting this in here and giving them that opportunity to be successful in the 10 minutes or so they have to complete the worksheet. So I'm not sure if I can get a good glimpse of it. These are phrases from the Star Spangled Banner, and by naming the letter names of the notes that are there, it finishes phrases like bombs bursting in air, the Star Spangled Banner, or oh, say, can you see? And it uses a musical alphabet to supplement the others. In 10 minutes or so, probably about 60 to 70% of my students can finish this worksheet. And if they're not finished, it's not a big deal. I can tell whether or not they've put effort into it or if they're just sitting there like picking their nose or something. So I'm not worried about them finishing it as long as they've made a good effort for that. The next station tells the story of the Star Spangled Banner, and when you open the folder up, it's got the story inside. And then on the back, well, these are the directions. And when you open it up, there's the story. And then on the back, there are questions. So if you and your kiddos were working in the group, one of them would hold the folder like this, and they would have the questions. In what year was the Star Spangled Banner written? And then the other team members would look down in the reading and answer that. Now, of course, they've taken time before to take turns and read through each of the paragraphs in that. And I find that learning the story behind the Star Spangled Banner is one of their favorite things. They really love everybody loves a good story, right? And I think they really love the way things kind of rolled out, and that, he was so relieved. They can just imagine, that joy and that relief the next morning, when Francis Scott Key could see the flag still waving. And so they really like that. And they also like to be fact finders, and they'll come up and they'll quiz me if they get finished with all this and they know all of the answers. And so they're always trying to come up with something they've read that will stump me, which I love. Bring it on. Another station that we do is a word find. It's actually a word find with a twist. In the word find, there's no word list. And so I always say, oh my gosh, where do you think the words are? And they're like, oh, they're from this song. And I'm like, that's right. So you're going to see if you can find words from the Star Spangled Banner in this word search. This is not always easy to do in 10 minutes. This might be more of a something to do on a different day, but I love putting that in there and getting them thinking. So on the back of the folder, the front is just the title and the directions are inside. And on the back, there's the actual list of words that are in the word search. So some of them are just so obsessed with finding one word that it might not be a word that's in the puzzle. So again, even though there's not a word list on the paper, I do include the word list because I want them to be successful in the minutes that they get. Is it a big deal if they don't get finished? No. Sometimes as the year allows, after our 2 days of workstations, we will have a third day where, that's my dog, a third day, come here, Nora, where we have makeup work. Nora, come here. Sorry. Where we have a makeup day, and they will use that day to finish their word find, to work on their treble clef, the Star Spangled treble clef with a friend, to finish reading the story, other things like that. And I find that works out really good, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of mingle with the kids on a less formal basis and, ask them questions and say, which was your favorite workstation and why did you like that? And find out a little bit more about their group too, to see, was there one student that did a lot of the work and the others were just coasters, or, how did that work out for me? The next two stations that I've started putting them in the same station because my fourth graders got through them so fast that they were bored before that 10-minute time was up. So let me show you what they are. Directions are included. This one is just phrases, and it includes some kind of fill-in-the-blank phrases from the song. So the first one is Dawn's early blank, and then there's a word list that they can choose from. And then you'll see through the perilous blank or the blanks we watched, stuff like that, with all of the words there. But the great part is that on the back side, that was the part that I was holding, the answers are there. So one person has the answers and they can quiz the others, and then they switch places and they do it the same way. And I found that this goes really quick and they're able to answer this one really fast. So I partnered it this year in my workstations with the definitions. And there are words like twilight, rampart, gallantly, perilous, or, which is over, and dawn. Twilight and dawn sometimes seem to be tricky ones. And so in this one, it's the same idea. They're matching the word to its definition. So twilight is the time of day immediately following sunset. And as they're quizzing, the person that's holding the folder, do you see how used this is? I've literally used this for 9 years now. You can see that the answers are on the back. So that's really helping them learn the definitions. And what I found that's really cool is kids love to quiz each other. So the fact that they have the answers, even if someone else went first, they just love playing the teacher in this part. And I love letting them. All right. Another station that's lots of fun is called Sing in the Blanks. And Sing in the Blanks, there are the directions, has a version of the Star Spangled Banner lyrics. Sorry, that's backwards again. It's bugging me. But it leaves out some words. Oh, say can you blank by the dawn's blank light. And so kids have to try and sing through that with those words missing. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light? And so on. So one person in the group will have an answer key while the others try to sing through it with those words out. And if they have trouble, then the person with the answer key helps them out by giving them a hint or giving them the first letter or the first sound. And this again is another way to help them memorize the lyrics that's a little different than what they've done at earlier stations. Another station features Francis Scott Key. This one is pretty easy in that your instructions are to read out loud the story, take turns or choose one reader to read to the whole group, and then make up your own questions. So according to the text, where was Francis Scott Key born? And so they would go back and look through the text and they would say, oh, that was here. And I always tell them when I'm giving the instructions that their questions have to actually be about the text. I know that seems obvious, but there's always that one kid that's like, does your cat's breath smell like cat food? Come on, guys. We've talked about this. So I always make sure to give some kind of non-example when I'm doing that of, what would be acceptable. And they think it's funny and I think it's necessary. Another station that I'm choosing not to do this year is poetry. And at the poetry station, there's the outside, the directions. It says the Star Spangled Banner was written as a poem first and later turned into a song. At this workstation, you will write a poem that is at least 4 lines long about America. Use the words below to help you think of some ideas for your poem. So you can see these words might be some things that they want to use in their poem. And I always let them know that a poem doesn't have to rhyme. I love rhyming poetry, but they don't have to make it rhyme. And this is usually a good exercise, but what I have found is that the creatives are done with their 4 to 8 lines in like 4 or 5 minutes, like just boom, 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 boom. And the other students that struggle with written communication often need a lot of help. And so rather than taking that extra time on makeup day, I would go ahead and say, once you have your 4 lines, you're done. Or if you can come and tell me your poem, I will scribe it down for you, trying to find ways for them to be successful. But I chose to leave this one out this year just because of my time limitations and where I want to be with my fourth graders after their Star Spangled unit. So I think that adding these last couple of stations on would have pushed me into a third day of workstations and then a fourth day of review and makeup and so on. So the whole set is pretty flexible in that you can use whatever you think is best. If you were using this with older kids, this would probably be something they could easily pop out into a finished form, 4 lines or so in the time that you would give them. And I think that you would like that. I've also got some amazingly good poems that could be songs from this workstation. All right, this workstation I'm also choosing not to do this year. This one is called Write On. And at this workstation, I know it's kind of empty except for the directions, I give students notebook paper and they race. If they want, they race their teammates to see who can copy down the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner first. I'm not choosing to do that this year because I have a couple of kids in each class that would really, really struggle to get a few lines down in the time that they have. And I'm just choosing not to do that. In the past, I've said, don't race. Just copy down as much as you can. That, that physical act of writing down the word, it helps your brain connect with that. I think we do so many things using technology that sometimes there really aren't enough pencil to paper kind of activities. So that worked for me. I love this and the kids love this. I'm just choosing not to use it just because I know that I have at least 2 or 3 kids in each of my groups this year that would struggle with that. You could easily do that. You could add that again in, but I was looking to keep about 8 stations for this. So this is a good one. Super, super easy. Instead of those couple that I talked about at the end that I'm choosing not to use this year, I'm also using a reading station. And usually at my reading station, kids can look at anything and they can read anything in my library because, well, that's why I have that, is so that they have that opportunity during their workstation rotations to look at any of the books, the biographies or the rhyming books or the silly things that we've done in class. I'll put the books in and they can catch up with that. But at this workstation, this time, students are only reading this book. And so I actually have a classroom set of these. It's called By Dawn's Early Light. It's by Stephen Kroll and it's illustrated by Dan Andreessen. You put that up there. It's all backwards, but maybe you'll get it. This book is, I think it says reading level 3, ages 5 to 9. This is not something that my 4th graders can finish in 10 minutes. But what I found that it does, if they finish early at another station, I have had 7 or 8 kids in just the 3 classes that I've seen so far that go back and grab a copy because they're really interested in finishing the book and seeing what happens or learning just a little bit more. So teacher win, yes. Now, I haven't really considered using this as a whole class activity. I mean, I'm sure I could, but I really want to spend so much of my time making music that I don't want to take as long as it would to get through this book. This was published by Scholastic. I can't tell you, I didn't remember to look that up before I went live, if they still sell that or not. But if you really want to take a look at this and you want the ISBN number or anything else that I can tell you about how to connect with that, just message me either here or catch me on Instagram or Twitter or via email, and I will take a picture of that ISBN number or answer any questions that I can about the book. I do think it's great. It talks about a little bit about the war that we were in, a little bit about Francis Scott Key, a little bit of how it turned into our national anthem. So it really is a great resource. And so far my kids are really, really enjoying that. So these are the workstations that I use for the Star Spangled Banner. And I used to do this at the beginning of the school year. Worked totally fine. Right now I'm doing it in the spring. Actually, kind of got to jump on it this year. We're in February, just because that works out with some of the other things that I'm doing as well. I I'm a big lover of teaching patriotic music to my kids, and we have such great conversations about the Star Spangled Banner, and almost every class wants to know, why do some people kneel during the Star Spangled Banner? And or maybe they've seen someone they know or someone on TV that's done that. And that gives us such an amazing opportunity to talk about what's going on in America and how we can use our rights as Americans to express ourselves and to say, you know what, we're not for this, and this is how we're peacefully and non-violently going to show that. So some great conversations. Right now I'm only teaching 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Can you hear the dog again? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm only teaching 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, but I have taught K through 12, and patriotic music was something that we did at every grade level. Of course, with kindergarten and 1st grade, a lot of it was just experiencing the music, but I have a blog post about what I've done in different grade levels, like K through 6, I think is what I blogged about, and I have that listed in the links of resources that are up in this video's description, so that you can take a closer look. There are a couple of great reasons for us to teach patriotic music. One is because I think that patriotic music helps us kind of become more of a community. And I want the students to have connections in that way. I also think that it's important as it connects us to history. And honestly, no one else is teaching our kids this. I have very few parents that teach their kids patriotic songs. Sometimes not even nursery rhymes or lullabies, but definitely don't teach them patriotic songs. So it's so important that they get that in our classrooms. Now, after we're finished with the Star Spangled Banner, workstations, if we need a follow-up day, if there are lots of kids that need that extra time to finish the worksheet, or if we're doing the poem to finish the poem or whatever, then we do that. Sometimes I do another follow-up activity called Star Spangled Evaluations. And on that one, I take the kids to different YouTube videos of people performing the Star Spangled Banner, a huge variety, like, you know, someone just playing guitar, kind of a gospel quartet kind of group, some young kids singing it, some like Whitney Houston singing it some, and I don't know, I have several different links that are there. And then we go through and we write about what we liked about it, what did we hear instruments, was it a cappella, and that is all as a free download. It's also listed in the links in the video description, and you can get the general layout of what I do for the lesson, the worksheet, and then I've linked up several of the Star Spangled Banner performances that I use with my kiddos that they really like. You may have your own favorites that you'd like to use in that list. So check out the resources, and I'm gonna go, I don't know, lock this dog out or something. She's going crazy. Check out those resources, and if you have any questions, be sure to hit me up. Before you leave the video, let me know what you do with the Star Spangled Banner at your school, because I would love to learn more about that and maybe shake up my ideas for what I do. Thanks for joining me for Workstation Wednesday. I'll see you the next time.